Hi everybody, my name is Danielle Nicole and welcome back to my channel. I hope you all had a happy new year and enjoyed the holiday season. And what better way to kick off the new year with a mini fragrance haul. I don't know about you guys, but I am seriously obsessed with fragrances and perfumes. They really can just boost my mood and really take me on a journey. So if you enjoy fragrances as much as I do and enjoy the video while you're watching, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and let's get started right now. Now, I love all types of fragrances, but one note in particular that I'm absolutely obsessed with is definitely vanilla. So when I heard that Ariana Grande was releasing a new vanilla-based fragrance, I just knew I had to try it out. Now, she did actually release two perfumes together. So the one I'm holding here is called Mod Vanilla, and the other one is called Mod Blush. Now, I know there is a deeper meaning behind why they decided to go this route for the design, something about the 60s and 70s and all of the mod designs back then, so I can certainly appreciate the artistry, but overall, I'm just not a fan. In fact, this bottle reminds me of an egg, I guess, that you can crack open. Now, the one thing I do appreciate about this bottle is that you can see how much juice you have used up. But the biggest thing is not only is this really an eyesore, but it's also a little bit difficult to get open. I could imagine for those that have any sort of dexterity issues, this is not going to be the most practical. So here's what the bottle looks like when you remove the cap. So let's put that back on, get my egg all put back together. You know, the biggest thing is if I was much younger, say in my early teens perhaps, I might actually enjoy the design and presentation of this bottle. I think it would look really nice sitting on kids or young teens dressers, but for me, it's just not my style. Now, I can completely appreciate that there are probably many people who are completely skipping out on these fragrances just because of the bottle design. I am not one of those people. I was really curious about what was inside. The top notes are pink freesia, juicy plum, and creamy musk. The mid is orris butter, white praline, and jasmine petals. And the base is vanilla absolute and cocoa butter. Now, here's the deal. There have been tons of reviews, of course, that have came out already. And what I read on Fragrantica is many people were initially comparing this fragrance to Cloud, and I think that's for a couple of different reasons. So on Fragrantica, one of the notes is actually inaccurate. It lists coconut, which is actually supposed to be cocoa butter. So that is a mistake that they have not yet corrected. I'm not sure if they ever will. But I think that's the reason a lot of people may have initially thought this did smell like Cloud, because they were thinking that it had coconut in it. But when I first smelled this perfume, I did not get any coconut, and I remember seeing those notes listed on Fragrantica. So I did a little bit more research and found out, no, there is actually no coconut in this fragrance. So even though I don't think this fragrance smells quite similar to Cloud in particular, I would say it does remind me of God Is a Woman, a little bit of the Cloud DNA, but not too much, and maybe some of her other fragrances kind of all combined into one. So putting all of the notes listed to the side, what does my nose actually pick up? So I basically pick up a very sweet, juicy plum, but to my nose, that actually reads more as a pear fruit. If I didn't know that plum was listed, to my nose it smells a bit more like pear. And in fact, the fruit portion of this scent profile, it does remind me of a few of her other fragrances that she has, specifically with that pear note or plum note that she has in this DNA. So I get a very sweet, juicy pear or plum mixed with a sweet, light, fluffy vanilla. So in addition to the sweet, juicy plum and very fluffy and also sweet vanilla, I do also pick up just a hint, a very small hint of that praline and orris butter, but to my nose, that is very slight and kind of takes a back seat. Now, when I first smelled Mod Vanilla for the first time, I was kind of thrown off because I was really expecting kind of a more deep, decadent, and very strong vanilla, but that plum note really shines in this fragrance. So instead of it being just a straight vanilla, to me, it's more of a fruity floral mixed with vanilla. But what's really interesting is Mod Vanilla is quite sweet. However, even though this is a very sweet fragrance, it has such a light DNA. So in my opinion, I think this fragrance is really going to shine much more in the spring and summer. Now, I will say if you enjoy God Is a Woman, Cloud, or any of her other fragrances, I do feel like this fits nicely into Ariana Grande's aesthetic. So do I actually enjoy the scent profile of Mod Vanilla? I do have to say yes, you guys, this is kind of like a guilty pleasure. I love the scent of this. However, that said, I do have two pieces of criticism. The first one is, even though I really enjoy the scent profile of Mod Vanilla, I was just hoping for a more vanilla-focused fragrance. Now yes, you can certainly pick up the sweet and fluffy, airy vanilla that is in this fragrance, but it is definitely mixed quite strongly with the fruit accords. So overall, a very sweet. Now even though it's sweet, it's not so much a sugary sweet to my nose. What I really pick up is kind of like a marshmallow sweetness. Now I wouldn't say Mod Vanilla smells specifically like marshmallows, but just because the actual scent of marshmallow can be very light and uplifting, and that's exactly what I get in Mod Vanilla. Now, even though this fragrance may be geared more for the younger crowd, and it is certainly not a complex or mature fragrance by any means, but I really am enjoying the scent profile. Now, the second thing that does need to be addressed about Mod Vanilla is the longevity and sillage. It is just not the best in either category. So because Mod Vanilla doesn't have the greatest longevity or sillage on my skin, I've used so much of this because I basically have to douse myself. So when I apply Mod Vanilla, I go you basically get the idea. So my point is, and what I'm trying to say, I definitely have to overspray. Now the last thing I wanted to quickly mention, as it just dawned on me, so in addition to Cloud having the coconut note, whereas Mod Vanilla does not, it has cocoa butter and not coconut. A lot of people mention with the Cloud DNA, they can get kind of a medicinal or dentist office vibe from that fragrance. I'm actually one of those people where Cloud is just not one of those fragrances that work well on my skin. I definitely get that dentist office medicinal vibe. But with Mod Vanilla, I don't pick up any of that scent profile whatsoever. So if you were like me and really enjoyed the actual scent of Cloud, but you unfortunately picked up that medicinal vibe, I would definitely recommend giving Mod Vanilla a try. I don't get any of that with this one. Alright, next up, we do have to discuss another vanilla fragrance that I recently added to my collection, and that is Vanilla Royale Sugared Patchouli 64 from Kayali. So if you watched my review of Vanilla Royale, you probably can remember that I mentioned I love the actual scent. I think this is a very beautiful, complex vanilla, but there was just something almost barnyard-like that sat on my skin. So even though I really appreciated Vanilla Royale, I mentioned that it's just not the vanilla for me. Well, I did want to update you guys because as I mentioned, I plan on letting the mini size sit in my collection for a couple of months, and I was going to revisit it, see if the fragrance changed. Well, if you take a look, as you can see, this bottle is practically empty. So since this bottle is empty, I've now moved on to the 100 ml. You know, I am so happy that I gave this fragrance a couple of tries because there was one point where I almost returned all the Vanilla Royale fragrances that I purchased. So happy I didn't because now it went to a total love. So here's the deal when it comes to Kayali fragrances. You know, I really think that they just don't let their perfumes macerate long enough. And the reason is how this fragrance smelled about a week after filming that initial video. It smells completely different from before. Now, I mentioned that I really didn't get much of the rum accord that was in Vanilla Royale, and I really got that strong barnyard patchouli scent, and it just wasn't mixing with my body chemistry. But I decided to give it a few more tries, and wow, I am so happy that I did. So what I get now, yes, I can still pick up that sugared patchouli note. That is certainly strong, but I don't get that barnyard smell anymore. And as I mentioned, the rum note wasn't strong. Now I get a blast of strong, strong rum. So I can only think that their fragrances just need to macerate for longer than they do. Now, the other thing that I've kind of come to the realization with Kayali is any of their fragrances that lean anywhere on the sweet spectrum whatsoever, they automatically get labeled as gourmands. So I think that's why I was a little bit disappointed initially, because Vanilla Royale, it is labeled as a gourmand. Now to my nose, this is just not a gourmand. But once I could really put that Vanilla 28 DNA on the back burner, and I gave this fragrance a couple more tries, let it sit on my skin, I just got a completely different scent from before. So all I kept thinking was, I am so happy I didn't send these bottles back. Now this is an absolute love. Now something I really appreciate about Vanilla Royale is this fragrance actually had me come to the realization also that I actually really love leather notes, especially when it is mixed with other sweet accords. So I can't even remember if I mentioned the leather note in my initial review, and I think that's because it just wasn't coming to my nose at first. But once I let these bottles sit for a few more weeks, I can definitely pick up that leather. And wow, it is a very smooth, nice leather note. So I just wanted to mention that. I thought that was pretty cool that I discovered another note that I initially never liked. Now apparently I do quite enjoy leather. Now another fragrance that I'm very interested in is Misiarte by Vicanto. So if any of you have tried that fragrance, please let me know down below in the comments what was your experience with it. Now next up, I do have to shout out Miss SHARIDA M. She talked about this fragrance in one of her videos, and I was really on the hunt to kind of vary up my collection. As you all probably know by now, I love my sweet gourmand fragrances, but I was looking for a nice floral, kind of warm and spicy date night scent. So she reviewed House of Oud's Ruby Red. Now first things first, you just have to appreciate the artistry of this bottle. This has to be one of the most beautiful bottles I have in my collection. The camera is just not doing it justice whatsoever. And how House of Oud's fragrances open, if you've never seen them before, the cap removes, and then you have the sprayer on the top. So overall, the quality of this bottle is just absolutely beautiful. I'm so happy I decided to pick it up. Now, not just for how the bottle looks, but let's talk about what's inside. So before I get into the actual scent, first let me read to you the notes. The top notes are ginger and tangerine. The mid is ylang ylang, tuberose, and ginger flower. And the base is candied ginger, musk, vanilla, and woody notes. Listen, this fragrance is everything I could hope for and more. It is very warm and spicy, but also incredibly smooth. Now, I was a little bit worried because it did have tuberose in the mid. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of tuberose, so even though this definitely has some floral properties, it is so smooth. I don't think I would be able to pick up any notes in particular just because they are blended so well together. So yes, this fragrance certainly has some floral accords, but it is so smooth. What I really pick up with putting all of the notes to the side is candied ginger. It is the most smooth, warm and spicy candied ginger semi-floral fragrance I've ever smelled. It is just beautiful. Now, another thing I was a bit worried about with Ruby Red, I was worried that it wasn't going to have enough sweetness to it. So don't get me wrong, I don't need every fragrance to be a sugar bomb by any means, but I usually need some sort of sweetness to balance out all of the notes. So to my surprise, and I am so excited about this, Ruby Red, it definitely does have some sweetness. Now, it is not a sugar bomb, as I just mentioned, but it has just the right amount of sweetness to kind of help out with the fresh ginger that you do get in the opening. So yes, you do get a bit of zest with that fresh ginger in the opening, but it very quickly settles down to mix with the other florals and basically become a semi-sweet, just the right amount of sweetness candied ginger. I couldn't be more happy with Ruby Red. I think it is the perfect date night scent that I was looking for. It's warm, it's spicy, it's enveloping, it has just the right amount of sweetness as I mentioned. It's not a tuberose bomb, it is just so incredibly blended. Now, even though this fragrance is absolutely everything I could hope for and more, now keep in mind I've only had this for a couple of days, but I don't find Ruby Red has the best longevity or sillage. Now, that could just be because it was just delivered, it hasn't had enough time to really settle, and also where I live, it is very cold, so it went through 20-30 degree temperatures to get to me. So I'm hoping as this fragrance sits in my collection, hoping it gets a bit stronger. Now, interesting enough, I was really expecting Ruby Red to be more of a fall and winter fragrance. To my nose, that's not what I pick up. You could certainly wear this year round, absolutely, but I think Ruby Red is really going to shine, especially in the spring and summer. So yes, I wish all the fragrances that I have in my collection, I wish all of them had amazing longevity, sillage, and projection. That's just not the case, but because this is not going to be an everyday reach for me, I'm okay with having to overspray. But I do hope it projects a bit more over time. All right, you guys, well, we are kicking off the new year with 3 for 3 as far as slam dunks go for fragrances. So happy to have these in my collection. And if any of you have any questions down below that I didn't cover, just let me know in the comments down below. All right, well, I really hope you all enjoyed today's video and had a happy new year. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye, guys.